Most people walk through life blind, not because they lack intelligence, but because they lack awareness. They move through their days like sleepwalkers, passing countless opportunities without ever noticing them. Earl Nightingale was different. He believed that opportunities were always present, even in chaos, even in crisis, even in the darkest times. But he also believed something more shocking. The greatest opportunities are invisible to the average mind. Today you'll discover how Earl found these hidden pathways and how you can train your mind to see what others cannot. This is the story of a man who learned to perceive reality differently, who discovered that fortune favors not just the bold, but the observant. Earl Nightingale understood a fundamental truth about human existence. We don't see the world as it is. We see the world as we are. Our minds filter reality through our beliefs, our expectations, and our habitual patterns of thought. And what you do not expect, you simply do not see. Think about it for a moment. Two people can walk down the same street, encounter the same situations, meet the same people, and yet have completely different experiences. One sees obstacles everywhere. The other sees potential in everything. The difference is not in the world around them. The difference is in how their minds have been trained to interpret that world. Earl Nightingale noticed that the average person waits. They wait for a break. They wait for luck. They wait for the perfect conditions to improve. They spend their entire lives in a state of passive expectation, hoping that someday, somehow, something wonderful will happen to them. But Earl understood a deeper truth. Life already contains the opportunities you need. You simply cannot see them yet. Your mind is like a radio receiver. It can only pick up frequencies it's tuned to. If you're tuned to the frequency of limitation, scarcity, and difficulty, that's all you'll perceive. If you're tuned to the frequency of possibility, abundance, and opportunity, suddenly the world transforms before your eyes. The opportunities were always there. You just couldn't detect them. Earl taught that opportunities are hidden inside problems, inside unmet needs, and inside the blind spots of society. But only a mind trained in observation can recognize them. Most people look at a problem and see only frustration. A trained mind looks at the same problem and asks a different question. Not why is this happening to me, but what need is being revealed here? What gap exists that I could fill? What solution could I provide? Earl said something profound. Everything you need to succeed is already around you, but you must think, not just react, not just respond to immediate circumstances, but truly think, deeply, carefully, strategically. Two people can look at the same situation. One sees frustration, the other sees fortune. What makes the difference? Earl Nightingale discovered 3 specific ways of seeing the invisible. 3 mental habits that separated those who found opportunity from those who remained trapped in mediocrity. The first way of seeing is this: see what others ignore. Most people overlook the small details, the problems people complain about, the inefficiencies, the unmet desires. They hear someone express frustration and they simply nod in agreement. Yes, that's annoying. Yes, that's difficult. Yes, that's a problem. And then they move on. Earl trained himself to observe these gaps differently. Every complaint is a market signal. Every frustration is a potential solution waiting to be born. Every inefficiency is an opportunity for someone willing to create a better way. He understood that fortunes are built not by doing what everyone else does, but by solving problems that everyone else accepts as normal. When you hear people say that's just how things are, your ears should perk up, because that phrase signals an opportunity. Someone willing to challenge that's just how things are can change an entire industry. The second way of seeing is thinking beyond the immediate moment. The average mind thinks about today, maybe tomorrow. What do I need to do right now? What problem am I facing this week? The wealthy mind sees 5 years ahead, 10 years ahead. Earl studied trends, psychology, and human behavior, allowing him to predict where society was moving. He asked himself constantly, what will people need in the future that they don't even know they need yet? What shifts are happening slowly, almost invisibly, that will create massive change down the road? This kind of thinking requires patience. It requires the ability to see patterns that haven't fully formed yet. It requires trusting your observations even when others don't see what you see. But this is precisely what creates extraordinary opportunity. By the time everyone sees the trend, the opportunity has already been claimed by those who saw it earlier. The third way of seeing is perhaps the most mysterious and the most powerful, listening to the whisper of the subconscious. Earl believed the subconscious mind reveals insights when the conscious mind is quiet enough to hear them. This wasn't mysticism to Earl. This was practical psychology. Your conscious mind can only process a tiny fraction of the information your senses take in every moment. But your subconscious is processing everything. It notices patterns you don't consciously recognize. It makes connections between seemingly unrelated pieces of information. It holds the answers to questions you haven't even fully formulated yet. The problem is that most people never listen to it. Their conscious minds are too busy, too noisy, too cluttered with worry and distraction. Earl Nightingale understood the hidden power of the subconscious in a way that few people do. Once you give it a target, once you give it a clear question, it begins to search for answers automatically, even while you sleep. Think of your subconscious as the most powerful search engine ever created. But unlike a computer that needs to be actively queried, your subconscious works continuously in the background. The key is programming it correctly. Earl used this mental mechanism constantly. At night before sleep, Earl would plant a question. Not a vague wish, not a desperate plea, but a clear, focused question. Where is the opportunity hidden inside the situation? What am I not seeing? What solution exists that I haven't considered? And by morning, a new idea, a new perspective, a new possibility would rise to the surface. Sometimes it came as a complete thought upon waking. Sometimes it emerged gradually throughout the day. Sometimes it appeared as a sudden flash of insight while doing something completely unrelated. But it always came, because he had set the mechanism in motion. This is not magic. This is how the mind works when you use it intentionally instead of leaving it to run on autopilot. Most people go to bed with their minds filled with worry, replay of the day's problems, anxieties about tomorrow, and so their subconscious spends the night processing worry and anxiety. Earl went to bed with intention, with purpose, with a clear directive to his deeper mind, and his subconscious spent the night searching for opportunities. To find invisible opportunities, you must prepare your mind at night, because night is when the deeper intelligence awakens. Here is the bedtime opportunity ritual that Earl practiced and taught. First, clear the mind. Slow breathing, releasing the tension of the day, letting go of the accumulated stress. You cannot program your subconscious effectively if your conscious mind is agitated. Second, ask one clear question, not 10 questions, not a rambling list of problems. One clear, focused question. What opportunity am I not seeing? Where is the hidden potential in my current situation? What solution would create the most value? Third, visualize a light revealing hidden paths. See yourself the next day with clarity, with new insight, with a fresh perspective. This visualization is not wishful thinking. It's setting an expectation in your subconscious. Fourth, fall asleep expecting insight. This expectation is the ignition switch for the subconscious. Without expectation, nothing happens. With expectation, the mind begins to search. You must truly believe that by morning, something will have shifted. Some new understanding will have emerged. This isn't about forcing an answer. It's about creating the conditions for an answer to appear. When Earl was working in radio, he noticed something subtle. People didn't understand their own potential. They didn't realize the power they possessed. They were living far below their capabilities. Not because they lacked talent or intelligence, but because they lacked a fundamental understanding of how the mind works. That single observation led him to create The Strangest Secret, the recording that sold millions and changed the world. He didn't wait for permission. He didn't wait for a perfect moment. He didn't wait for someone to give him a platform or validate his idea. He saw an opportunity hidden in plain sight. People needed clarity, and he could provide it. Think about how simple that observation was, and yet how powerful. Earl recognized that the greatest need in the marketplace wasn't for another product or service in the traditional sense. It was for understanding, for insight, for a message that could transform how people think. And once he saw that opportunity, he acted on it immediately. This is crucial. Seeing the opportunity means nothing if you don't act. Earl understood that small opportunities grow into big ones, but only if you take the first step. The Strangest Secret wasn't a massive production at first. It was Earl recording his insights and sharing them. But because he acted, Because he trusted what he saw, that small beginning grew into something that impacted millions of lives. Earl believed you could train your mind to recognize invisible opportunities. This wasn't a gift you were born with or without. This was a skill you could develop through practice. How? By practicing 3 specific habits consistently. The first habit is asking better questions. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of the questions you ask yourself. Most people ask disempowering questions. Why is life so hard? Why do bad things always happen to me? Why can't I catch a break? These questions program your subconscious to search for evidence of difficulty, victimhood, and bad luck. And it will find exactly what you've asked it to find. Earl taught a different approach. Instead of asking, why is life hard? Ask, where is the opportunity inside this problem? Instead of asking, why can't I succeed? Ask, what skill do I need to develop? Instead of asking, why don't I have what I want? Ask, what value can I create for others? These questions shift everything. They turn your subconscious from a complaint detector into an opportunity detector. The second habit is expecting opportunities daily. Expectation tunes your awareness. If you expect to see opportunities, you will see them. If you expect life to be difficult and scarce, you will experience it that way. This is not about positive thinking in a superficial sense. This is about understanding that your expectations literally shape your perception. Earl would start each day with a simple declaration to himself. Today I will encounter opportunities. Today I will see possibilities that others miss. Today I will be alert to the needs around me. And because he expected it, he noticed things that others walked right past. A conversation that revealed a market need. An article that sparked a new idea. A problem someone mentioned in passing that could become a solution worth building. The third habit is acting on small insights immediately. This is where most people fail. They receive an insight, a nudge from their subconscious, a small idea that feels interesting, and they dismiss it. It's too small. It's not the big breakthrough they were hoping for. They're waiting for the lightning bolt, the million-dollar idea that arrives fully formed. But Earl understood that big opportunities almost always start as small insights. The key is to act on the small insight immediately, even if you don't see the full picture yet. Take one small step. Do one small thing. Test the idea in some small way. Because action creates momentum, and momentum reveals the next step. Most people wait for certainty before they act. But certainty only comes after action, not before. You cannot think your way to certainty. You must act your way to it. Earl would say, don't wait until you see the whole staircase. Just take the first step. And when you take that first step, the second step appears. This is how invisible opportunities become visible. Through action, through experimentation, through willingness to move forward even with incomplete information. Every major success in Earl's life started with a small action based on a quiet insight. And that small action led to the next action, and the next, until something substantial was built. But it always started small. It always started with trusting the insight and taking the first step. Earl Nightingale lived in the same world as everyone else, but he didn't see the same world. He saw doors where others saw walls. He saw possibilities where others saw problems. And he understood the ultimate truth. We become what we think about, and we see what we look for. This is the master key to understanding invisible opportunities. Your mind is not passively receiving reality. Your mind is actively constructing your experience of reality, and it constructs that experience based on what you're looking for. If you're looking for problems, you'll find them everywhere. If you're looking for reasons why things won't work, you'll find unlimited evidence. If you're looking for opportunities, for possibilities, for ways to create value, you'll find those too. The world doesn't change. What changes is what you're tuned to see. Think about someone learning a new word. Before they learn it, they never notice it. But the moment they learn that word, suddenly they see it everywhere. In articles, in conversations, in advertisements. Did the word suddenly appear everywhere? No, it was always there. But now they're tuned to see it. Opportunities work exactly the same way. They're already present in your life, in your environment, in the situations you face every day. But you're not tuned to see them yet. Earl's life was dedicated to helping people retune their minds, to shift their frequency from scarcity to abundance, from victimhood to agency, from waiting to creating. He knew that the greatest tragedy in life is not lack of opportunity. The greatest tragedy is walking past opportunity after opportunity because your mind isn't trained to recognize them. So how do you retrain your mind? You start tonight. Before you sleep, you implement the bedtime opportunity ritual. You clear your mind. You ask one focused question. You visualize insight arriving. You fall asleep with expectation. And tomorrow morning, you pay attention. You notice the thoughts that arise. You stay alert to the conversations you have. You observe the problems people mention. You look for the gaps, the inefficiencies, the unmet needs. And when a small insight comes, you act on it immediately. You don't judge it. You don't dismiss it. You take one small step. You do this consistently, day after day, night after night, and something remarkable begins to happen. Your mind starts to change. Your perception starts to shift. Things you never noticed before become obvious. Connections you never made before become clear. Opportunities you would have walked past before now catch your attention. This is not a quick fix. This is a fundamental rewiring of how your brain processes information. But it's absolutely possible. Earl proved it. Thousands of people he taught proved it. And you can prove it too. The greatest opportunities of your life may already be around you. They may be in the problems you're currently facing. They may be in the skills you've already developed. They may be in the people you already know. They may be in the complaints you hear every day. But you won't see them until you train your mind to look for them, until you expect them, until you ask the right questions. Earl Nightingale's legacy is not just the content he created. His legacy is the principle he lived by and taught. That opportunity is everywhere for those who learn to see it. That your mind is the most powerful tool you possess. That you are not limited by your circumstances but only by your awareness. And that awareness can be expanded, trained, developed through consistent practice. Right now, in this moment, opportunities surround you. Some are obvious. Most are invisible. The invisible ones are often the most valuable because they're available to you, but not yet to your competition, not yet to the masses. You have a window of time where you can see what others cannot, but that window won't stay open forever. Eventually, others will notice what you're noticing now. Eventually, the invisible will become visible to everyone. The question is, will you act while you have the advantage? Will you trust your insights? Will you take the first step, even when the full path isn't clear? Earl would tell you that this is the moment. Not someday. Not when conditions are perfect. Not when you have more information. Now. The opportunity you're not seeing exists in your life right now. The question that will unlock it is forming in your subconscious right now. The insight that will change everything is waiting to emerge. But you must create the conditions for it to appear. You must quiet the noise. You must ask clearly. You must expect genuinely. And you must act immediately when the insight comes. This is how Earl Nightingale lived. This is how he built a legacy that continues to impact lives decades after his death. And this is available to you. Not because you're special, but because you're human. And every human being has access to the same subconscious power that Earl accessed. The same capacity for observation. The same ability to ask better questions. The same opportunity to retrain their awareness. Most people will never do this. They'll continue to wait for luck. They'll continue to complain about lack of opportunity. They'll continue to wonder why success seems to come easily to others but not to them. But you now know the truth. Success doesn't come to those who wait. It comes to those who see. And seeing is a skill you can develop starting tonight. Are you ready to see what you've been missing? Are you ready to train your mind to detect the opportunities that surround you? Are you ready to stop waiting and start creating? The world Earl Nightingale saw is available to you. It's the same world you've always lived in. But when you learn to see it differently, everything changes. The invisible becomes visible. The impossible becomes possible. And the life you've been waiting for becomes the life you're actively building. Tonight, when you lie down to sleep, remember Earl's practice. Clear your mind. Ask your question. Visualize insight. Expect the answer. And tomorrow, stay alert. Because the opportunity you've been seeking may appear in the most unexpected form. It may be disguised as a problem. It may be hiding in plain sight. It may be so simple that you're tempted to dismiss it. But if you've trained your mind correctly, you'll recognize it. You'll see what others miss. And you'll have the courage to act on what you see. This is the path Earl walked. This is the invitation he extends to you. Not to follow him, but to develop the same capacity for vision that he developed. To become someone who sees opportunities where others see only obstacles. To live in a world rich with possibility because you've trained yourself to perceive it. The greatest opportunities of your life are closer than you think. Are you ready to see them?